始めます。クリアまで行きたい。
おい、誰だ？息子か。かわいい我がイカルスか。はあ、いいぞ、いい。アイスストームを持っているな。スコーピオンたちを倒さなくては。アイスストーム、それがラビリンスの秘密なのだ。抜け出すにはそれを組み立てろ。いいぞ、いい。始めたのか。さっきキューブが動いていたな。では中に入ったらボリアスの贈り物を使うように。それがラビリンスを動かすきっかけとなる。誰だ？お前は何を？わしの子供に何をした？我が息子はどこだ？
息子は死んだ、ダイダロス。
息子よ、なんと、なぜだ！ハデスからの贈り物。そう、
イカロス、誰だっけ？
それとアイスストームでラビリンスの動力を作った。動力まで作った。想像する力、破壊する力だ。神々の王はわしを見捨てた。もしわしがラビリンスを作れたら息子を返してくれると言っていたのに。彼はもし私が疫病を手に入れたら、我が息子を。
過去作に出てたっぽいな。ワイはやってない。ドン。 さっきトロフィー見たら、魔力とアイテムは。マックスまで強化してた。いくつか見逃したり諦めた宝箱が体力強化アイテムっぽい。ゴルゴンの目。あ。下失礼します。落ちねえ。
頼む、やめてくれスパルタ人。
都合がいい。ついにラビリンス。 一発。当たったかわからん、わら。さて先がダメなのか。わらわら。わかるか。じんわり死ぬな、わら。無理では。いけた、わら。 滅の城みたい。1回。 倒し方すっかり忘れてたよ。光で実体化させればいいのね。
パンドラ、奴め何をした？
彼があなたとまた話してはならないと。もし話したらお父様のようにあなたも痛めつけると。
そんな。
彼はあなたを殺すって言ってた。
そうはさせん。とにかくここから出よう。
来て、私が案内するわ。
ワンちゃん。この人お父ちゃん殺したんやで。もっと恨んでいいんやで。
クレイトス、引き上げて。こっちよ。
ワンちゃん声かわいい。ずっと一緒にいたい。ワンちゃん。 まだちょっと当たってなくない？まだ当たってないってば。
こっちよ。
ギリギリ。
ありがとうクレイトス。
旅の終わりには程遠いパンドラ。終わる頃には感謝する気にもならんだろう。
私は見た目ほど子供じゃないわクレイトス。今までも恐ろしいことを見てきた。何も怖くないもん。先に何が待ってるか知ってるわ。ゼウスはお父様を拷問したの。私のせいであんなひどい目に。助けたかったけど私怖かったの。
ヘワエストスは親の義務を果たした。子供を守る義務だ。
違う。私がいけないの。恐怖で助けられなかったわ。恐怖は闇と同じものなのよ。闇の中で私は神々の声が聞こえた。
偉そうなこと言うな。
怪物と呼んでたわ。
言葉など何の意味もない。
完全にアンチクレイトス。
でも神の言葉に恐怖を感じた。灰かぶりの戦士に対する恐れも。あなたを恐れてた。神々の恐れが募るほど私は希望に満ちていったわ。
生首も怖くないのね。
希望は弱者が持つものだ。
希望があるから強くなれる。だからここにいるのよ。全てを失っても希望があれば戦える。
ワンちゃんかわいい。
これが希望の結果だ、子供よ。ここでよく学ぶがよい。
先にエフェクトかと思った。 一生終わんないかと思った。わら。閉じ込めちゃうかと思った。ワンちゃんゆたゆた走るよ。ラビリンスの頂上らしい。
鎖をクレイトス。鎖がオリュンポスの力の均衡を保ってるとお父様が言っていた。鎖を切ればラビリンスが持ち上がる。
ここで待ってろ。
ワンちゃんかわいい。 これくらい。わら。セーブしときゃよかった。あ、まだいけた。あれ、あそこ開けた記憶あったんだけど。開けてなかったのか。 あれ、全部揃った。リセットされてる系ね。起きるもの欲しい。あったな、混乱。最初気になったけど何かわからんかった。 最初攻略した時はこんな怪しいモヤモヤなかったよね。ここ。この下最初なんもなくて、何の場所、わら、って言ってた記憶。こういう取っかかりが最後に回収されるのか。ちょっと一旦お手洗い。 戻りました。間違ったヘッドセットつけちゃった。全員ダウン。セーブ数上限まで行ってしまった。あれまあ。
気をつけてクレイトス。逃げたと気づかれた。急いでゼウスの声を追ってくる。お願い助けてクレイトス、早く。
ボーイズ見た後だからか、過去の王たちは悪者に思える。
パンドラ！アテナ？
大丈夫よクレイトス。
目的を忘れないで。ここまで来た理由を思い出しなさい。
自由に飛んでるな。
準備なさいクレイトス。
羨ましいな。
すべきことは何ですか？
アテナ。
ラビリンスを持ち上げる。彼女は属すべき場所に。
急いでクレイトス。
5を読んでは微妙な扱いしてたような。 懐かしさが。序盤にも登ったよね。一瞬カメラバグったな。こんなんあったな。ワンチャン箱。 しっかり捕まんないと。ワンちゃん。
あったわ。見えるわ、クレイトス。暗闇では希望の炎が自由にしてくれる。
パンドラ、行くな。
こうするために来たのよ。そのために連れてきたんでしょ。
他の方法を見つける。
ダメよクレイトス。他の方法なんてない。
ラビリンスがここまでたどり着いたよね。
行くな子供。
私は子供じゃないわ。離して痛い。
ワンちゃん強い。
その子を下ろせゼウス。
貴様のその愛着、こいつへの見ていて不愉快な息子よ。
その子を離せゼウス。
勘違いするな、これは物だ。ヘファエストスが作ったのだ。己の血と肉で。
パパ。
しかしもう手遅れだな、スパルタ人。貴様がパンドラと虐殺した家族からの許しを求めたおかげでオリンポスはひどく大混乱になった。己がしたことを見渡してみるがよい。
見えるのはお前を滅ぼしに来た者だけだ。
貴様に情けをかけたのがわしの過去最大の失敗だった。こんな奴に情けをかけるのは貴様にとって最大の失敗だ。
その子は何の関係もない。
この子に何もかもが関係しておる。
その子を下ろせ。
ならよかろう。
いいやつ。
貴様を潰す。
は生かしてやる。
ちょっと理解したけど無理です。
クレイタス、炎に飛び込むのを阻止するのだ。
私はこうするために作られたの知っているでしょ。お願い。
ワンちゃん走り方がアニメチック。
クレイトス、もうこうするしかないって知っているでしょ。
耳をかすでないクレイタス、惨めな人生一度ぐらい正しく進め。家族を失ったようにその子を失ってもいいのか。
ゼウスうるさいな。
パンドラ、神をも殺せる力。あんなにも探してあんなにも苦しんで、またしても失敗で幕引きか。
ワンちゃん。本当にどうなのか。
なんてありさまだ。早く貴様を葬って正さね。ここへ来い父よ、全ての決着をつける。
いつものワイなら落ちてた。
賛成だ息子よ、さあ始めよう。
髪の毛塊。
たのか。
ラヤ、
私の世界があなたのせいで血を流している。
死んだのかと
あ
思った
なたの死を望んだことはありません。でも他に選択肢がないのです。
捨て駒に裏切られたようだなガイア。他のやつを選んだらどうだ。
やめろ。父と
デカゼウスの雷、ラード中かどうかわからん。ラヤ、邪魔だな。ここ来た覚えあるな。回復ありがとう、わら。
クレイトス。何に終止符を打つ。 ねえ。無礼な愚か者め。わしが貴様を倒す。無礼な愚か者め。
ああ、立派なお城が。
ほどうんざりだ。見すこえよ。
終わりかと思ったのに。
わしが貴様を作った。殺すのもわしだ。未来に横たわるのは闇だけだぞ、クレイトス。
離れないでカリオペ。
お母さん、私怖いよ。あの人たち襲ってくる？
お父様が守ってくれます。
この村を燃やせ、燃やし尽くせ。
お父さん、
クレイトス。
お父さん、やめて。ダメ、お父さん、お願い。
私がつ娘、なぜ
いや
スパルタにいるはずなのに。アリース。
クレイトス、来て。私が案内する。急いで。手伝うわ、クレイトス。クレイトス、暗闇では希望の炎が自由にしてくれる。
1作目のシーン、2作目のシーンって感じなのかな。
光が見えるでしょう。あなたは変わってく。恐怖の心はもう忘れていいのよ。光は真実を照らす。その中から人を許す力が生まれる。許されたくばまずは自分を許す力を見つけなければ。
浄化。
こっちよ。
いけません、クレイトス、やめて。
アテナ、なぜだ。
クレイトス、ゼウスは恐怖のあまり父クロノスを殺したのです。大戦の引き金となったのも同様の恐怖でした。その恐怖からゼウスはあなたを殺したのです。実の息子を。ゼウスは恐怖であなたを闇にとどめようとしています。内なる悪と戦い、それらを葬りなさい。
こっちよ、クレイトス。
神々は私を見捨てたのだ。残された。 ているか、スパルタの戦士よ。あの子を傷つけることは許さん。
カンドラとかいうあのアバズレとうまくやるがよ。己の宿命は変えられる人間よ。
私が全てを与えた。
頼む、やめてくれスパルタ人。
望みのものは手に入れただろう。離せ。
死ねえスパルタ人よ。
来て、私が案内する。
死ねクレイター。わしが貴様を作った。殺すのもわしだ。
急いで。
なぜ貴様は死ねえ。恐れよ。
クレイトス。こっちよクレイトス。
黙れ。
早くクレイトス。クレイトスお願い、私を自由の身にして。
耳を貸してないクレイトス。惨めな人生一度くらい正しく進め。家族を失ったようにその子を失ってもいいのか。
大丈夫よクレイトス。クレイトス、もうこうするしかないって知っているでしょ。神々の恐れが募るほど私は希望に満ちていったわ。
神を
希望があるから強くなれる。だからここにいるのよ。全てを失っても希望があれば戦える。
ボタン連打をやめたら終わった。
よくやりましたね、クレイトス。オリュンポスの束縛から解放され混沌とした世界を経て、人類は私のお告げを聞く準備ができたでしょう。
周りを見よアテナ。世界は荒れ果ててしまった。お告げなど何になる。
どうぞ行きたければ。でも去る前にその箱の中に眠っていた力を渡しなさい。
箱には何もなかった。
それはありえません。目を見ればわかります。あのゼウスを倒した私の力、今もその力があるはず。わからないのですか？ゼウスが災いを箱に集めた時、再び箱が開かれた時、どうなるのかと私は恐ろしかったのです。だから私はこの世で最強の武器を召喚し、その箱の中に入れておいたのです。
言っただろう、箱は空だった。パンドラの犠牲も無駄になった。私の復讐のために彼女は死んだ。
それは間違いです。あなたは私の力でゼウスを、私は見ていました。もしかしたらそうなのね。あなたが箱を開けた時、災いが解き放たれて神々に感染し、神々を変えてしまったのです。ゼウス自身も災いの餌食となったのです。だからゼウスはあんなにも激怒し、あなたを殺すことに取りつかれた。恐怖という災いに取り込まれたのです。私が箱に入れた力は解き放たれていないと思っていました。あなたは箱の中の災いから力を得てアレスを滅ぼしたと考えていましたが、そうではなかった。あなたが箱から得た力は私の力。そこからあなたはゼウスでさえも滅ぼせない力を得たのです。恐怖に打ち勝つことのできる大いなる力を。あなたの奥底にあるその力は希望です。隠されていたのです。あなたの罪悪感と許されざる罪に。ゼウスを殺した時、あなたはそれが目覚めることを許した。なぜ許したのです？
希望があるから強くなれる。だからここにいるのよ。全てを失っても希望があれば戦える。
なぜ許したのです？
失ったものしか思い出すことができぬ。
だから私にその力をください。私ならその真の意味も使い方も分かります。正しい選択をすることを信じています。
断る。
私に借りを返すべきでしょう。
貴様に借りなど何もない。
私があなたを神とし、オリュンポスの怒りからあなたを守ってきた。私がゼウスへの復讐を与えたのです。
全てしまいだアテナ。
私を切るつもりですか？二度までも。
私の復讐が今終わる。
せん。この愚か者、何をしているのです。
なんで
あれは私のものです。私でなければ
どういうこと
持て余してしまう。あなたにはがっかりです、クレ
ああ、
イトス。
力を打ち砕いたのか。アテナコは、終わった。これで54につながるの。難しすぎる。 今のカットはどういうこと？意味深。特典映像機になりすぎる。実写だ、わら。
I'm very happy with the way God of War 2 came out. Provided we hit our mark, I was pretty confident that our sales would be better than God of War 1, but I was rather skeptical that our reviews would be. God of War 2, I think at the end of the day, probably equaled, if not slightly exceeded the first, which I was not expecting, and it was quite satisfying.
I can't believe I'm fucking
2の話。
I deserve this one then. This is the final chapter. So I think big goals for me are to finish this off in such a grand, epic fashion, something that is truly befitting of what we've done, what we've set up in 1 and 2.
All right, this is for a revenge story. God of War 2 ended up being everything we ever hoped it would be, and probably a bit more like very well. I honestly feel like it was probably about as good a game as is likely to be made on the PS2, and I'm very proud that we managed to do that.
One big family here at SCEA.
すごい良いゲームだった。PS2 なんだ、古い。
God of War 3 is going to be the conclusion to the story. My hope is to make the best effects I can on the last one.
When I think of God of War, I think of the best action platformer out there right now. I think other games and other companies look at us and go, how are they doing it? How can we make it like them? And that's rad, because I've totally been at the company where we looked at that game and went, man, how do we do that, you know?
My main hope is that it escapes
the
destiny of sequels as well as God of War 2 has escaped the destiny of sequels.
I'm going to be satisfied if we tie it all up and we can kind of close the book. We're past the stage of figuring out what we want to do. We're now in the early phases of sorting out the how we're going to do it.
Next Friday will be my last day at Sony Santa Monica. The bomb was dropped. It was somber and everyone was quiet and no one said anything, and perhaps there was a tad bit of shock. It's killed me because I really didn't want to say something, but it's just nothing you can say is going to come across as anything but you're an asshole.
When I heard that Corey was going to leave was kind of annoyance more than anything. It's, you know, it takes a long time to make a successful team as much as a successful product. It's always a pain when a key person in that team decides to move on.
First emotion we felt was just shock. Didn't see it coming, didn't expect it. It's like dropping a bomb.
Well, it was disbelief, obviously. I thought he would be the last one to leave.
Incredibly bummed out, like very, very disappointed.
You know, you're never really prepared for something like that, you know. They don't warn you very well either. They just kind of spring it on you.
It was kind of a bit of a shock. I never expected that Corey would leave the project, so. But once the initial shock died down, I couldn't help but being a little bit happy for him, so because he was getting to try new things.
It kind of puts us in a little bit of turmoil for now, but I think we'll work it out.
I'm glad he has the balls to stick to whatever it is that he wants, but I'm also a little pissed that he's leaving us in the lurch, just kind of like holding the bag.
I mean, I know I want to be here. If he needs to be someplace else, that's what he's got to do. And I think it's better that it happened at this stage in the project than a year from now, obviously.
It obviously is a very difficult choice and a difficult time and not a very happy choice.
めっちゃプレイなデスクトップ。
But, you know, on the horizon, the doors are opening.
Of course, it's hard to imagine someone stepping into Corey's shoes. He's amazing.
Many people wondered whether we could do God of War 2 without David Jaffe, who did God of War 1, and I think we succeeded at that. I think we can succeed at creating a third version without Corey Barlog.
I think it's kind of neat, actually. A different director for each chapter.
I have chosen Stig Asmussen to take the helm.
When I became director, there was a very warm response from the team. I got a lot of tons of support, and I mean, so far everybody's been super cool. I look back on how Corey handled things and how Dave handled things, and I draw inspiration. I think the most important thing that I got from both of those guys is the fact that they were themselves.
I'm super excited about this. You know, this team kicks ass, you know, and it's said a lot, but this type of situation, the kind of garbage that we've been going through in the last month, as far as I'm concerned, this team's second to none.
But Stig is fucking amazing.
Stig's a pretty good leader, I think mostly because you're probably afraid of him when you first meet him.
The entire team really respects him. Everybody communicates well with him, and he's not unfair with any of his decision makings.
From my perspective, he is much more easier to work with. He is much more structured and engineer friendly.
One of my strengths is to try to lead by example. Hopefully that filters through to the rest of the team and they're able to approach their tasks with total excellence.
All those leads from the last game, those key people, they're in place. And that's really where the personality of the studio comes from. That's where the drive of the team comes from, wanting to critique every element and make everything that's in the game the best that it can be. It really is driven from the leads and from the culture of this studio. And that has not changed, even through the turnover.
So working on the PS3 is very challenging. It's a lot of new technology and a lot of new techniques are required to make a game on the PS3, which means that we have to learn some completely new techniques for writing our game code. It's also a completely new graphics processor, so we have to learn about those graphics techniques and work out how we expose them to the artist in order to make the best possible art and give the game the look that the art team is interested in. We have a similar set of problems working with the designers. People's expectations for games on the PS3 are much higher. They want to see, you know, more enemies and more complicated effects and, you know, more ragdoll physics on the characters and, you know, realistic looking reactions when you hit people. So yeah, there's a tremendous amount of challenge working on the PS3.
God of War 2, the team was able to throw so many things into the game and get things up and running and finding out, is that fun or not? The hard transition for God of War 3 is getting all that to work again because we have so much new technology that has to be built.
You know what I'm saying?
Everybody has to relearn their own personal expectations and their limitations and how they're projecting their schedules and their tasks and things like that. Everybody is counting on everybody else to kind of make accurate predictions on what they can do. It's tough right now because everything's new. It's just so much more involved. That's very worrisome. When are we going to get to the point where we can say something's going to take 4 weeks to do and it's really going to take 4 weeks to do? It's understandable that nobody understands that right now.
PlayStation 3, we're able to push a lot more polygons, a lot more texture resolution and detail, so things are hyper realistic. I mean, they're so realistic now that we can actually see pores on skin and hair and eyebrows and nose hairs. You can see everything. We have a lot of work ahead of us.
Every character now is like taking 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
At least 6 weeks.
Yeah, to make one. It's not like before, it's like 5 days we can make one.
For me, it's not knowing kind of where the limits are. You can make stuff look so super realistic now, and that takes a lot of time. Whereas before, we really had defined limits.
Yeah, it's exponentially more complex. And the other big thing is this is going to be our first PlayStation 3 game, and we're expected to be able to beat games that some studios have released 2, 3, even 4. Gamers are expecting us to have better technology, better art, better visuals, better gameplay. Across the board, they expect it to be better. And that's pretty intimidating in itself.
We're going crazy with the detail. When it's done, I think it's going to look incredible.
You're going to see Kratos do a lot more subtle movement, more facial animation, things that the human eye just, usually takes for granted, but now we can include all those things.
The things that we can actually accomplish are starting to now really become things that are only limited by our imagination.
With the new hardware and the new system, we're able to kind of start pushing the player experience and creating like a much more kind of cohesive world. And like, the Titan before used to be in a cinematic and now you're actually like running on the damn thing. So it's like, whoa, we're getting there.
Titans we've never done anything like that.
They're pretty crazy.
It's insane. The fact that you're going to be able to run around this like moving character and it's basically a moving level, it's pretty insane.
From a programming perspective, they're a big challenge. We designed all of our animation systems and everything to deal with a roughly 2 meter high character
Exactly.
where, if his little finger twitches slightly, there's not too much of a big deal.
Exactly.
But when your character's like, 2 kilometers high, then a little twitch in the finger suddenly becomes like a really big deal. The very first moment those were mentioned, I was like, oh, Jesus, this is going to be a big problem.
Yes.
But hey, I mean, it wouldn't be God of War if we didn't try something we didn't think we could do when we started.
Because I'm very proud of this game and you guys, I've invited a storyteller friend of mine to come in our walkabout. So Stan Lee is going to join us today and check out your work.
This is such a cool time to be just walking around the studio and looking at things as they're coming online. Every month, we do a walkabout, and it's largely for the team to kind of, review each other's work and, and really compliment each other.
It's a big studio.
Stanley,
There's like 80
legendo.
people here, and really it's impossible to keep on top of everything that any given part of the group has been working on. It's an opportunity for everyone to see what cool stuff has been going on in the studio. It's a good way of making everyone realize that they're part of a big machine at this point.
Plus, everything looks better after you had a couple beers. So it helps to make your stuff look better.
Everyone's out to get food. These are all, it's Olympus, the gods, and they're all bad. All the gods are bad, except this guy who's tormented.
Yes.
He's great.
His line is, in the end, there will only be chaos.
And then the next game you do is called Chaos. That's a great sequel.
There you go. Zeus's brother Poseidon.
Terrific drawings.
Hera.
Yeah. I love to write dialogue. Maybe we could try something new. A video game with lots of dialogue. I'm sure it would sell like a bomb. And I love the way this hand is there. Oh, gosh.
Oh, yeah, and then when he moves the hand, we'll like make that to kind of get destroyed a little bit and get all kinds of dust flying off of it.
This is one of the best things I've ever seen.
Cool.
That is beautiful.
The last thing Corey did before he left.
Okay, so long, fellas.
We're just giving
giving each other props here.
Yeah. Cheers.
There's no such thing as a bad walkabout, because, you know, beer at work.
And also, Stanley rules! Woo!
Just crawled up there.
It's Stanley! Stanley!
I'm fine with it as long as we make it seem like it's in-game as much as possible.
I'm still learning every single day, and I imagine that process won't ever end. And there's so many things that you can learn from every individual on this team.
Stig is kind of man of the team, you know, very easygoing, very casual, but he's also extremely intelligent, very thoughtful. I think the thing that's been successful for him is that people just want to help him out. They just want to make a good game.
Stig just keeps pushing along. He's got 2 brand new twins at home, and
yeah, it just keeps on
he's got this other baby, this big baby on his back right now, so he's doing great.
Since last Halloween, we made a lot of progress. We've got the story of the game done. We've got the whole design direction completed. 3 months from now, you know, we're going to be doing our press event.
Everyone gets to go home early!
The first couple times when Stig addressed the team, it was so clear how nervous he was. He would kind of stumble on his words, and he'd literally, you know, turn red, you know, like a stoplight. It was really kind of endearing. But then to watch him sort of evolve, and honestly, I think I was a little bit concerned that, you know, our game director is our public face. And we actually gave him, you know, some media training. And Stig actually asking people, he says, you know, honestly, I don't want to think about all this stuff. I just want to be myself. Is that okay? And they said, you know what? Absolutely.
That looks good.
Oh, wow. So that's how tall Kratos is. He's probably closer to the size of this guy.
Will is our stand-in Kratos when Kratos isn't here.
I'm about as close as you can get.
We picked the venue and the location for the spot, and we brought all the media here. We have something like 60 people here from the media. I can't wait for them to see the actual gameplay. These guys are going to be thrilled.
Love Kratos. Kratos is hot. Be nice to see if he ends up a god or destroying Olympus. I do love the violence as well. You know, the women are very beautiful in the game as well. I can't wait to see what new characters they've brought to us, what new enemies, and I'm really excited.
I also want the sizzle, you know? Maybe we can focus it in a little bit more. We can play with that a little bit. Yeah.
The development team has worked so hard on this project, so it's really fun to see when all their hard work comes to fruition.
I'm going to get through the first couple slides up here, and then I'm going to start to walk around. Nobody has seen the gameplay outside of our studio, so this is going to be the first time. I want to get this over with. I'm nervous, but I'm also excited about this. I think we've got something really cool to show. I'm looking forward to seeing people's reactions.
Can we play it?
This is our first big kind of press thing. There's definitely some nerves with that. Anxious. I'm definitely anxious. The best thing that can happen today is people think it's awesome. You know, it totally kicks ass. The worst thing that can happen today is that people just flat out think it sucks. I don't think that's going to happen, but you never know with these media people. What is the vision for God of War III? We want to define this generation with this game. We're going to take a close look at him. I'll talk about some of the features that we're using on him. Here he is. We've got blended normal maps on him right now, so you can see the realistic muscle flexing. I would imagine that we've got one of the most advanced systems for that in the industry right now. The battle's in full swing. The god Helios is in battle with a massive Titan. And Kratos is going to launch into battle and start doing some damage on the grunts here. Now, Todd can easily just grab one of the grunts by pressing circle, and if he continues pressing circle, he can beat the crap out of him. But if he presses triangle, then he can rip them apart. If he presses X, then he can throw them. And one more move, square uses it as a battering ram, and then he can take it, mash circle, smash his head against the wall. And all these moves are interchangeable. Meet our latest AI, the Chimera. Part snake, part goat, part lion. Todd has just unleashed the cestus on him, and you can see it's a brawling weapon. Now, the way the Chimera works is it's a 3-stage enemy. First, you fight the snake stage, and then it changes its stance, and you fight the lion stage. We're really having fun with gore on this game. Entering the Cyclops. Every action that the Cyclops makes is a direct reaction from the pain that Kratos is inflicting on him. Well, that's our newest upgrade, the Helios Head. It can be used to reveal secrets. Todd has now found the door of Eos. Another thing the Helios Head can be used as is a lantern in darkened areas. This is our newest form of travel in God of War, Icarus Ascension. Todd now has full flight controls over Kratos and basically dodging gameplay. That's it.
Oh my God, fantastic. It was great.
It was phenomenal. I mean, like, I thought that I had a concept of what it would be like, but this pretty much blew everything completely out of the water.
We're putting a lot into this game. I said I think this game needs to be a defining game for this generation, and I truly believe it will be. I can't comment on what the future holds for the series because, you know, I'm focused on God of War 3 right now, but this is God of War is, this is it. This is the end of the story. We got a lot of work to do, so there's no time for relaxing, that's for sure. E3 is obviously a big thing. We got to get this playable to the public, what we just showed on the demo here. We're in pretty good shape for that, but we got to get the game done. We still got a lot of work left to do. Right now for E3, pretty nervous about it. Nervous, I mean, think nervous isn't a bad thing. You know, you should be nervous. Your nerves should be on edge or else you're not going to get the thing done right.
It's kind of ironic that most people would have been happy with the reaction for the press demo, and we were kind of like, we could have done better. We've undertaken to basically change the rendering path between February and E3 to make it look much prettier and much more next-gen. We have this amazing capacity to never know when to stop. Hopefully it'll all come together. I think it will. It's looking very nice. We definitely know how to pressure ourselves.
This team sets the bar really high. We could settle for a lot less and probably be a lot closer to being done, but with this group, they're never satisfied. Yeah, we never do things the easy way.
Personally, I'm worried, but then I think it's good that I'm worried because that forces me to actually get this shit done.
There's definitely pressure, self-created pressure, and then pressure from other departments just to get everything done. We're all just trying to do our best.
I think the most pressure we get is from ourselves. Every team is always looking at the other team's work and commenting and critiquing. So we're really pushing each other the most, I think.
It's a lot of back and forth.
The following week, it's absolutely nothing moves because we're going to need to take every freaking second to make sure it's stable and we are at frame rate. So, stay with that. You want to just...
The dead soldiers on the ground aren't in the poses?
Nope, and they don't have blood streaks and stuff in here.
Tyler's doing blood streaks.
Alright, so we need a book over here then. The inactive mode would look like kind of like it does right now with the book shut. The active mode, the book would open up and would have like a glow around it.
We have to open and close the book.
Yeah, there's a book for it.
We should have known that when we built it, because we didn't build it to open and close.
Wait, you need the book to open and close?
Yeah.
There's no limit to good ideas, but there is a limit to how many of those good ideas that you can actually implement. And even if you make decisions and you make progress on things, it doesn't mean that you can get all those things done. We need to be able to tell people this thing is active now.
Can we remove it for E3?
Are you serious?
No, I'm not. I mean, there's a lot of other shit here to get done besides getting a book to have in an active states.
Let's say we don't do the open and close for E3. It would just have a glow effect and a light that comes with it, and that's it.
Do we just put a sparkle on it then?
Absolutely have any compromise for the schedule right now. I have to trust production, and I have to trust the fact that they're telling me that we can't get things done. So I feel like there's little things that have been compromised. I don't know that the player's going to necessarily miss them, but I sure am. It's part of making games. You don't always get what you want.
This seems like harder than the last time I played it.
We'd have to keep in mind that
somebody from the street is going to be playing those harpies. And I don't know. The way it looks right now, on 3 tries, people will throw down the controller.
The stuff we just went through, pretty rough. It's a little frustrating from the respect that it's been kind of at this state for a long time now. Kind of wondering when it's going to get fixed. The struggle or the challenge.
If it doesn't get fixed this week, we're screwed.
This is sprint week, meaning we're making a big push this week to get a lot of work done and make some headway going into E3.
As far as crunch goes, we're not going to call it crunch anymore. We're going to call it a sprint, and then everything will be fine. So as long as we do that.
Change the name, it'll all be fine.
Tonight's the first night of
crunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
We don't like the euphemism sprint.
Fuck. I hate crunch. It sucks.
Right now, I'm creating a new build, and hopefully that will enable the rest of the studio to then continue working on the awesome content that they're creating for E3. They're definitely waiting on me. Definitely.
As far as my end, I feel I'm okay, but then at the same time, I kind of feel like I'm waiting on technology a little bit to kind of come online.
We just have a ton of bugs to fix. We're getting new technology right now, and the lighting's kind of broken, fog's kind of broken, so we're just trying to kind of survive, fix all our bugs, and get all of our tech in place so we can get this thing done.
You're sprinting now. Yeah.
Tonight's the first time the team has worked together as one, and there's a certain kind of level of excitement that goes into it and dread because we're still working, but it's a fun group to be with, and we're trying to get stuff done.
You know, we can only do so much, right? And we'll just try to do as much as possible, as quickly as possible, and that's it. Hopefully we end up with something pretty cool, though.
This is the biggest E3 we'll ever have.
Everybody wants to still see if Santa Monica still has it.
Last 2 weeks have been very, very intense. I actually got here this morning a half hour before the shrine actually opened to deliver live code for what we're playing this morning. I didn't have that code until yesterday afternoon.
The Sony press conference is their big moment, you know, 2 hours to like show all the new stuff they have. And it's going to be broadcast on live TV and web. And we're going to end the show with God of War 3. Anytime that you go first or last, if you open the show or close the show, it's an honor.
I guess we're happy that Sony seems so committed to our game. It's nice that all of our hard work over the last 7 years, really, because that's how long we've been working on the God of War series in total, is really getting the reception that it seems to be getting.
We're real excited that we're closing the press conference. It's a great opportunity. It's a great way to end. We're going to be live on stage playing real live code. So nerves are definitely high.
Like a lot of jitters.
Stig's going to be talking and I'm going to be playing on stage, so a little stressful. Got to take the edge off a little bit. Headlining scares the shit out of me. You know, I've never done something this big, you know, standing in front of 2,000 people or however many it is.
This is one of the most eagerly anticipated games of this generation. I'd like to invite Stig Asmussen to the stage to show you the first few minutes of the jaw-dropping God of War 3.
We at Sony Santa Monica Studios are excited to be able to present this live demo of God of War 3. God of War 3 is the final chapter in our fantasy trilogy, based on the dark side of Greek mythology. Now our design director, Todd Pappy, will take point on the controls, and we'll get into our demo.
I'm really anxious. I'm really excited. This is a really important moment for the team. It's important for the game. I hope that we make the impression that we always strive for.
The demo has got a lot to show
One line. Amazing, fucking awesome. People really seem to dig it. This went well. I don't see how it could have gone any better.
Well, I'm kind of glad that E3 is back. It's pretty exciting. It's been a couple of years since there was a really decent-sized E3. It's always exciting to have your game here.
This is what we work for. E3 is like Christmas.
We've got 12 kiosks set up with God of War. We had a great time last night setting it up. It was actually, we got there, the Sony booth was relatively quiet. All the games were up and running, but there weren't a lot of people playing anything. We started loading in the God of War, and people started lining up behind me to play it. I had somebody tell me today, one of the producers of another product told me when we got in there and loaded our code, all work stopped at the Sony booth so they could come play our product. Hugely flattering, big kudos to the team. Got chills just having that whole experience. It was awesome.
It was excellent. It was, you know, disgusting and exciting all at the same time.
I waited an hour to play in that game. When you finally get to decapitate Halo's head, that was like amazing. Didn't expect to see that.
It's pretty brutal. I mean, way more brutal than like the first two. Every new game, they bump it up a little bit, so it's definitely good stuff. I waited in line 2 hours to play. What can I say? It's God of War with unforgiving amounts of violence, great gameplay, kind of thing that, you know, just spend all day playing, not call your girlfriend, whatever, who cares, right?
Super pumped to see it. Yeah. Gets me so jazzed. So this is Christmas.
This is Christmas.
But it lasts 3 days.
We can't believe it's back, you know? It's like awesome. Really good.
I'm so fucking happy that E3's back. I mean, it means so much for the industry.
Seeing people's faces when they play, we just ship it out to the store, so the team really doesn't see, you know, people's reactions, and just even the oohs and the ahs at the press event. It makes it all worth it.
Just seeing like the people's faces. I mean, that's why I make the thing, you know. I want to take people to that next level.
I think this is what excites the team the most, when they get to see people's reactions. We work our asses off before this to just get the demo to be as polished as possible, and you know, we're trying to represent almost a finished product when we're not done with the game yet. So by the end of this, we're so drained, we put so much energy into it, that all this energy coming from the outside just builds us back up and gives us that ability to finish the game.
E3's was a huge milestone for us. A lot of publicity, a lot of great feedback and great exposure.
E3 was awesome. I have to say it went very well. Seeing all the fans and watching everybody play totally put us in a different mindset coming back from that. You really get locked up and don't really see people's reactions working on something for so long, and going and seeing people line up for your game, that's more than you could ever want, you know? It just kind of invigorates the whole team into coming back and working on something and wanting to put your heart into it and make it even better.
I think we did a good job with it at E3. And that shouldn't be our high point. That should be like our midpoint.
Alpha is when the whole game from start to finish needs to be in one bag. It can have placeholder assets, but you can fly basically through the whole game or walk through the whole game, and everything's represented in approximately the way that it will ship with.
Yeah, so ideally by Alpha we shouldn't go, oh hey, we need that extra bad guy, or hey, we're gonna add a new boss.
Which we've done on other games, so.
But ideally on God of War 3, you know, Alpha will be, okay, all of our pieces are in.
And then after Alpha becomes Beta, and Beta is basically art lock.
I want to make sure that when I'm playing the game, I've got a smile on my face. You know, I've played God of War for the last 6 or 7 years of my life now. As long as I'm got a smile on my face, I think there's a good chance that that's going to translate over to the fans.
If you kind of take a look at this here, you can see this character that's the size of the Sears Tower, roughly. It's about 1,500 feet tall. It's a different kind of boss battle. Kronos is more than Gaia, is more fully alive, and you're more fighting on a character that's moving around. So this has been very tedious and challenging and time-consuming to put this together, but I think at the end it'll definitely be worth it, and people will feel like they're playing something they never played before. Kronos will actually like thrust his hands forward into his scrape and leave his fingers there. so that you can actually attack his fingernails. We'll have a breakable in the fingernail, and then the fingernail will bring up like a circle prompt. You'll grab onto that and in the CS move, and then basically do a struggle and then rip it out, and you know, it'll be kind of a gory, cool, memorable moment. We actually want to make this awesome. We want to make this gameplay super exciting. It's going to be everything people expect from what the Titan fight should be.
What are the big tech issues, Chris, that you need support on?
The only big tech issue we need support on at the moment is the issue with the collision.
The more static you can get him, the more precision you will get in your CS move.
The problem is that since it's a skin collision, the skin itself is not necessarily, is not just a non-deformable object that you can rely on to not have change from one trim to the other. That's the biggest issue we can have.
What we're doing hasn't really ever been done before, and so a lot of what we're running into are issues with trying to make it as exciting as possible, but working within the technical constraints that we have and in the time frame that we have.
I would say that the rewrite of skin collision is turning into a very unrealistic proposition to get it finished before alpha.
Time is the biggest fun killer usually, is as far as developing. It's where you come up with the most exciting scenarios, but do we have the time to put it together?
Fabrice and I will need to take a look at what is going on and what's fixable and what is not, and what we will have to design around.
With Kronos, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and when you see it all together in the finished product with all the polish, I think it's going to be one of the most memorable experiences in gaming history. That's how I feel about it. I know it's going to be like that.
The murderer of Gaia enters my tomb. Kronos! I know it was you who killed her, Spartan. Who else could?
About a month back, maybe 6 weeks back after Alpha, we were looking at the end of the game and we felt like there was a lot of fighting and it didn't really tie into the story. We had a couple brainstorming meetings and we came up with this idea that it would be really cool to go inside Kratos' head. Because that's where the struggle is really taking place.
The story's really never done until the game ships. And we're always tweaking it and modifying it. But I really like working on the story.
Kratos is going to have this emotional struggle inside of his head. And, you know, really the object of this game is he has to realize that he has hope inside of him, the power of hope. And that's what he originally got when he opened up Pandora's box. He didn't get the evil things, he got the good things. And I think it's going to be a really, really fitting end to the trilogy. Keep in mind, you know, we're very close to beta here, and this is the big stretch. And we really, really, really got to be zipping things up. Let's do it. That's all I got. That's all I got.
This is the third Halloween. I think for many it's probably a big relief. We're less than 3 months away from being done. It's been 2+ years. It's been an incredible journey. We've overcome so many pitfalls along the way with change of personnel, project redesigns. Despite all that, we've managed to continue to elevate and continue to push ourselves and continue to make the best products we as a team can do. And I think God of War 3 is living up to that.
To complete the third one, it's pretty amazing. We always tried to hit the highest mark we possibly could, and I think we've done it once again with this one. So we're gonna have to wait and see what the fans think, but I have really, really high hopes.
Completing a trilogy is something I never did in my life, you know, and completing something like this is very special, you know, something that means a lot to me.
Sentimental moment.
This is truly one of the best teams I've ever worked with. I mean, across the board. I've worked with teams that were really strong on the art side, or really strong on design, or really strong on technology, but this is the only team I worked with that fires on all cylinders.
The team faced a lot of challenges. The interesting thing is that this team has always faced challenges, and it sounds kind of cliche, but they're really good at facing challenges.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
You know,
I mean, we've discussed a lot. Obviously, we've gone through a lot of different changes, and the team always, I mean, you can't put it any better, but they always rise to the challenge.
We really sat down and like focused what we wanted to, you know, make good, and whatever wasn't working, we just kind of threw out the door and said, "This is what we want," and that's what everybody focused on and made good.
Fans are going to be blown away.
We're still getting surprised as far as how good things look.
The game's awesome. It's gonna be good.
Been working with Kratos almost 7 years. I've learned a lot. He's taught me a lot. We've had some good times, but it's time for him to go to bed for a little while.
いつもハロウィンがメインのインタビュー映像だ。わら。立派なおひげたち。
We're over here at Leo's desk, and we just, you want to say hi, Leo?
Hi, everybody.
So tell us about the pink ball. Is that something that you decided to put in, that pink spiky ball, or was just...
Well, yeah, I just decided to kind of create pink yo-yo.
One cool thing about this character also is that he's actually kind of like a throwback character. We're bringing him back from God of War I. He actually wasn't in God of War II, because we definitely want to keep reminding the player that this is a trilogy. It's like, they're not supposed to be seen as separate games. So what about animating Kratos? Like, what are some of the things that are kind of challenging?
He has a specific poses that describing him. He has a kind of like a language of poses. You have to use those poses to invent some new animation. So.
We're fortunate to have Leo here because he's joining us for God of War III. He actually is a new member, one of the newest members of the team. So he's doing a great job.
One of the factors of animation is that you're kind of trying to make it invisible. The more successful we are, the less you really notice the animation.
The stuff we've got going on with our boss fights is going to look really impressive. It's another kind of key development for this game, I think.
We're working a lot with the designers, like way more closely, and creating new things with them.
There's a certain type of feeling that in animation we have to achieve. And the most important part, of course, is Kratos and how he moves. Kratos is very direct. We don't try to make him too fancy. If you notice, a lot of times when he's having conversations, he's just kind of standing there waiting for the moment where he needs to say something.
Everything that Kratos does happens for a reason. I don't know if many people even notice these things, but Kratos never moves backwards. He's an aggressive character. He moves with a purpose at all times.
We actually have wooden swords laying around all the time. We definitely get up and try to act it out. It's definitely always hazardous to walk around the animation area. You gotta watch out.
What are the challenges of animating something that big?
Where everything needs to be, like nothing happens on accident. You need to know where everything is. I did not know that it was gonna be this big. I just had an idea and I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go with it, which is kind of a bad idea. I learned my lesson. At the same time, I'm glad that it's the size that it is. The players will be happy that it's in there. I think they'll get an adrenaline rush just from seeing the sequence.
Kratos, your death will not be a gentle one. Ah!
The role of a combat designer on God of War III is a complex role. Basically has anything to do with characters in the game. Any character you see moving in the game, attacking, fighting, are generally implemented by a combat designer. And then, of course, Kratos. What his platforming elements are going to be, what his new combat moves are going to be, what weapons he's going to use, how he's going to use them, how he walks, everything. I'm here with Jason McDonald, who's a senior combat designer on God of War III. And we're just talking about the new features that we have in the game and what we're trying to add to the God of War franchise.
Well, we've got some of Kratos' items in
He can grab a head and he could light stuff up. Now that we can play with lighting in God of War III, we can make the entire room dark, have enemies that are attacking you in the dark, can't be seen. And when you light them up with the head, they light up for a limited amount of time, so you can attack them while you can see them, but then they are constantly disappearing.
You get to parts where it's completely pitch dark and you hear the guys scream in the background. You use the Helios head to, find out where they are. The strategy gameplay, the combat side of it turns into you have to keep these guys lit to be able to hit them, otherwise you get screwed and they just destroy you in the dark. So.
Definitely something we couldn't do before just because we didn't have dynamic lighting to the extent that we have it now. So
we got the combat grapple in.
We tried the grapple stuff in God of War II, but since we were limited on memory and animations and things like that, we just couldn't do it, and if we couldn't do it well, then we weren't going to do it at all, so we just didn't do it. But now we have more space, more memory. Kratos is a very strong character, so when he grapples an enemy, he kind of just charges right in and plows through everybody. So the grapple system is exactly like that. You can launch somebody in the air and you grapple them and you plow yourself right into the air, right into them. If there's a crowd of enemies, you'll plow yourself through all of them.
Hey, I'm at Brian Yu's desk here. He's a senior combat designer on God of War III.
For this particular boss, which is a huge scorpion, you want to make sure the presence is there and the player will feel the power of the attack. Usually for attacks for boss character, you want them to be really recognizable so the player knows it's coming, because if the player cannot recognize the move and react in time, they get hit, because it's boss character, you will take a lot of damage. So it's not fun, if you don't see the attack coming, you're being hit. So that's something that we try to work really hard on.
I'm here with Jason DeHarris, combat designer on God of War III, and we're just looking over some of the writable stuff that's early in development. So how do you think it's going?
It's all right in terms of Kratos. He still wants to kill this beast that's in his way to his ultimate goal, so it's not really his friend, so he's not really telling it to attack. He's just trying to kill it, and then the indirectness of that is the Cyclops reacting to his pain, pretty much. But then there's a challenge of making it feel responsive as well. So I guess it's kind of disguising that responsiveness with the pain reaction. So even the pain reaction is really a hit, actually.
As you can see, we got a bunch of grunts on screen right now, and when you're fighting all these grunts, like taking on, doing a special move or, grabbing each one and killing them, that can be kind of slow. This will be an awesome tool for, like, you see the Cyclops in there and you're just like, I want to get after the Cyclops so I can jump on his back and do tons of damage and kill these guys quicker. But just like any other feature, we have to prove that it's going to be fun and good. And, if it's not, we got to get rid of it because everything has to be fun.
I love brainstorming. Yeah. That's one of the best things about games. Right from the beginning, it's
just a creative process.
Yeah, it's fun.
この時点で鬼吉の盾壊せたのか。
No, the concept art for a Titan, a water Titan.
Can we bring it up on here? Yeah, that's fucking sweet. That's really fucking cool.
He's even got the tentacles. Whatever we come up with, it's like, hey, that would be cool. We just make it form out of water, whatever it might be. A lot of talented people were sitting in that room figuring out, oh, this would be cool, this would be neat, throwing out all these ideas out, doing our best to trying to live up to the God of War 1 and 2 standards, which are insane.
Really high.
It's like it has to be like almost like in a shape that's like scary.
I agree with that. When you pull the camera out, what do you see? And if it is like he's turned into like a huge squid and,
さっきインタビューしてたのは
or something like that. But as you're like fucking flea size,
リードコンバットデザイナーだったのか。
a big part of this.
What do you think about maybe that whatever that thing is? It's a lot of different things.
It's everybody, it's not just one person that comes to the table and has, okay, here's the perfect idea. It's everybody rifting together.
Just like the idea that Poseidon swells up with water and just becomes semi-translucent and you can see all his veins and stuff. And so that way you're actually hitting flesh.
Going off of sort of like Will's idea and a combination of the things that we talked about is his skin is basically like
a jellyfish. On the inside of his body, he has all the bones. He has actually a bone structure. That way we have a creature that, you know, looks like it has some meat to it, made out of the ocean.
So I think, like, going off of what you were talking about, where it's like maybe you've got like reef and seaweed and stuff like that, we could probably make it look like water's running through that stuff. I would hope that we at least all kind of get on the same page. At the end of the day today, it's like, yeah, this is kind of somewhat direction we're going to go. Maybe it starts off and a wave crashes up, and after you see like this far shot or something of a wave kind of overtaking Kratos and Gaia on the side of the mountain or something like that, you're freaking out. I was like, you're probably freaking out right now because of the cinematics. And then afterwards, guys, like, something's fucked up right now. I can't move. And then Kratos has to go out and find out what that thing is, and he runs into this one thing. It's like, what the fuck is this thing? And it's obviously connected to something else. And then he finds the other thing later on. And at the end, there's this big reveal, and it's like, "Blah!" And this is what this whole thing was that you were fighting it the whole time. I think that's cool pacing, because there's always a question in the player's head while they're proceeding. It's like, I don't know what the fuck this thing is.
When they first approached me to work on Poseidon, they told me it's going to be the very first big boss fight. Poseidon, if you remember from God of War II, he looks more like just like a human god form. But in this game, he jumps down from Olympus into the ocean, and then he emerges out as a big water creature. This is my first sketch I did for Poseidon after doing a bunch of research on exactly what Poseidon is, the god of the ocean, the god of horses. So I thought to incorporate this design of a creature, of him being made of water and the actual waves kind of looking like horses. And then this is another one along the same veins, having a lot of horses, so just kind of going wacky. Another sketch I did was this one where I incorporated multiple Poseidon's heads throughout the design, showing that he's in control of this water tentacle. They liked this design a lot with the multiple heads, and they also liked the very first sketch with him leading the horses. They liked this one the best, so they liked this for the overall direction. They saw this, they liked the feel of this, but they didn't like the direction of the octopus limbs because of previous bosses that we've had, like the Kraken. So this is just one of the limbs of the Poseidon creature, one of the arms. This one I incorporated the multiple faces, and then a lot of the crab legs. And then this is another one I did, and this one I wanted to kind of bring back because he's a god of horses to kind of capture some of that feel. So eventually they decided that instead of having two different arms, you're gonna just be fighting one arm. And they also liked the idea of the horse. This is the final, the very end, you're gonna be opening up his chest and revealing like this membrane, jellyfish kind of membrane, where you stab and eventually kill one of his limbs. It's later going to be revealed to you that the whole time you've been only fighting one of his limbs right here. It's going to be a really cool, big moment in the game.
Turnarounds are looking pretty nice.
Today I'm going to be having an art review. We're getting to the completion of one of the Poseidon's limbs, so I'm working on the turnarounds now.
Get the animators up here and make sure that those limbs, the front limbs, are not too long for him. Like, he'd have to raise it up so high.
To get you right below, he'd have to be, like, basically have his arms way up like this and be going down like that, and that's probably going to look a little silly. Let's have Andy finish this up. But, Andy, can you save off a version of what you have right now so Adam can go over it with Bruno? And just keep on getting me up here to look at it. Cool? Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys. So we just had the review. It went well. They liked the direction, and I think a lot of it, because before this is the view they've always seen, but they've never seen the front view. So for them to be able to see the front view and to see how the shape, the silhouette actually makes a trident shape, they really like that idea. I just have to finish this up. I'll probably finish it up today, and it'll be given to the modelers from there.
First time I heard about Poseidon creature was 6 months or so ago, and I heard we're going to have a few of these huge Titan battles. This was the initial concept that was given to us. Things have changed proportionally for it to work right on screen, but it generally has the same feel. I still have a lot of sculpting left on this guy. A lot of this is just like the first pass. So right now I have more just the overall feel of it. Here's Kratos. He's pretty small compared to this guy. So I brought him in here just so I could have an idea of how big he's going to be. So when it comes to details, how high res this character has to be. So you can see him. He's tiny. I just want you guys to go over and check it out before I start making all the rocks for his face, you know? So
yeah, I think it's good. Can we make sure that we're getting like some of this smaller detail like spread out over him as well?
Okay.
Can I see the scales on the back?
Oh yeah.
It's really fucking cool.
Poseidon looks to be challenging for every department because it's so complicated. When I first saw the concept, really, I kind of looked at it and was like, what the hell are you guys doing? But that's pretty much what I say every time I see one of these crazy concepts anyway. You just go to your desk and beat your head against the table and figure out how the hell you're going to pull it off.
Poseidon definitely falls into that class of one of those kind of surprises that I know is coming down the pipe. A lot of water, and that's kind of one of my worries because making good water is hard.
We have to start off God of War 3 with a bang, and that's Poseidon. And Poseidon's going to be a water creature, so we have to make water look good on that character. I started doing some research on how we can make a character feel as if he's basically a waterfall, if there's water running down him. And I spent a couple hours, and I've put together the model that's behind me on the screen here. We basically want to try to prove the technology that we can make a model look like it has water running down it. So we don't have the Poseidon model built yet, but we have Zeus. Poseidon is Zeus's brother. They'll probably have similar type proportions. So he was a good test. This is a shader that I put together. It's pretty crazy with all these different connections. There's several different normal maps that are scrolling on top of each other. This probably took me 3 hours to set up the shader on top of an existing model. So where I want to take this now is I'm going to give it to the effects department, and I want to see like chunkier spraying water kind of coming down off of him. And then basically any area where water hits the surface, we just want to get little particle spray coming off to, just give this thing more of a volume, more water volume.
When I started on it, we had already established what Poseidon was going to look like, what the creatures that you were going to be fighting was going to look like, what Gaia was going to look like. We had the Gaia model. The Poseidon creature model was still in the process of being built. One of the quick things that's very surprising to the player, I guess, will be that right there is how big Kratos is. And that's Gaia. And this will be the initial fight combat tutorial. At that point, Gaia will change her animation and she'll start climbing on the mountain differently to allow the player to be able to walk down her arm. And the Poseidon intro will happen. The player will continue along after that. She'll be in a different pose. He'll walk over here, he'll do just a little jump, come down here, fight some more enemies, and then he'll walk up to here, and this is where the Poseidon horse creature encounter happens. So this is the first thing the player will see when he loads up the game. We're trying to frame her hand and show that she's climbing up Mount Olympus, which is just roughed out right here. And then we also want to find a way of getting her head in the shot and having her head bob around and sway. After the player works his way down Gaia, this will be the first big encounter that he experiences. The Poseidon creature will burst out, knock Gaia's hand back. He'll have to fight it. We're concerned with the player experiencing this new creature that he has no clue as to what it is. And the first thing he's doing is fighting it in a way that he doesn't feel comfortable. This is the first Poseidon creature encounter, and this right here is the first CS move kill for it, where he snaps its jaw. And at this point, the creature pulls away through Gaia's arm. Kratos attaches to him, and then as the creature's falling, he jumps off. He'll transition onto Mount Olympus.
The Poseidon encounter is very much like you're riding the Colossus from God of War 2, and you're fighting the Hydras on top of the Colossus. It's kind of incorporating all of those elements that worked really well in the previous God of Wars, but also raising the bar because it's even more epic than could ever withstand before. This is what I was delivered, the thing you encounter within 5 minutes of starting the game. This is essentially a rough version of the model. It's a pretty good start. It's got all the features like this stretchy tail, which is pretty cool. Even has stretchy neck, which lets me do some crazy stuff with it. Since this creature is supposed to be made essentially out of water, he needs to be fluid and flexible. Then he's got this trident section back here. He uses that to maybe discharge lightning at the player or, do something very Poseidon-esque. This is the scene with Gaia and the tentacle creature
and Kratos. And you may ask, where is Kratos? Well, he's in here somewhere. He's this little tiny dude right here. There's Kratos. I see him. So you can imagine trying to get the camera in here in the right place is kind of a challenging task. Plus, the floor is Gaia, and Gaia's moving around, so adds a lot of complexity just to the elements of trying to get everybody lined up. You encounter this beast multiple times, so you fight him first and you wound him and he retracts away and escapes, and then you come back and then he's on another point in Gaia. And then finally you realize that wasn't even the monster, that was just a small piece of the monster. And you get up to Gaia's head, and that's where you encounter the full force of Poseidon. This is the actual Poseidon creature. This is Gaia's head here you're standing on. This thing has 10 arms and legs, kind of, and then it's got 3 prongs on its back. It's also got well over 20 controls just in its spine. There's a lot of stuff going on.
He's busy. But that was my first initial impression, was there's a lot going on with Poseidon. The more I think about him, the more epic and grand. Why not? I mean, that's kind of like a God of War boss will be. Especially when you're dealing with pieces of him as you go through, and then when you come to the very end, being able to see the full glory of him and just realizing, wow, that's just a little piece of him here, and that's just a little piece of him here, and getting to the end and going, wow, he's huge. And that should be pretty epic, being little Kratos on Gaia, a Titan, versus Poseidon, a god, and they're both huge, and you're just this little guy in the middle of it that's really going to change or determine who's going to win that outcome.
Michael and I have been working on the Poseidon boss battle for a couple months now, and we've been working through the progression for the whole fight, working with Justin as well on the level design side. We're trying to get the whole layout so we have a bare-bones skeleton of how things progress. It goes back and forth to have an interesting pace to the beginning of the game. We're in the first encounter of the Poseidon boss fight. We've already seen the creature come out. Poseidon boss battle is definitely something we haven't done before. There is concern, but I wouldn't be happy if we weren't concerned. There's no challenge there. What we want to do is make something that really surprises people and really gets people excited about the game. This is the initial CS move, the first CS move you do in God of War III. Kratos is going to wrap his chains around the bottom jaw of the Poseidon creature and then eventually rip the jaw off completely.
It's better than over here, which was the initial placement.
Boob Valley.
When you're a little short, but when you're down here, it's kind of distracting.
Initially, we had Encounter 2. The creature was coming directly out of the center of Gaia, and you see 2 gigantic mountains and the creature right in the middle of Boob Valley. Everybody giggles when they saw that. So
that wasn't what we were going for.
Not at this portion of the game. We're not looking for laughs. We have the creature now coming out of Gaia's neck, and Michael came up with the idea of one of the trident pieces on the back of the creature is actually piercing through her jaw and coming out of her mouth. So she really looks like she's in peril and she's getting destroyed by this creature. From the get-go, I came up with the idea of doing the first-person kill and giving a new perspective on Kratos' kill sequences, and Michael took the idea and ran with it.
When you defeat Poseidon as his horrible watery self, you corner him down here in his humanoid form, and that's when you have to kill him off.
Immediately, everybody was just like sold once they saw it in game.
Yeah. There was a lot of skeptics too, as far as people come up to me, and I'm sure Adam too, and what are you doing? And then actually seeing it in a game, then everybody comes over and it's just like, all right, it worked.
Kratos is not so good at making friends, but he's good at killing people.
This boss battle has to end with a big finisher. And our final kill is where we're testing out these new CS moves of first-person kills. So minigame inputs right now are in a third-person camera, and then when you succeed, you get to see the impact of Kratos' attacks and see how Poseidon feels as he's getting completely torn up. He just screams really loud and then bites his ear. It's more of a nibble than a bite.
So last time we checked him out, it was just the grayscale high-res ZBrush version, and I believe the low poly version as well. So since then, we've messed with water technology stuff, trying to make it look more like water's flowing through him. Help from like our art director, Ken, and other people trying to make the water look good. Generally though, water's pretty hard to do. It's just a combination of normal maps that scroll, like we take UVs and have them scroll, as well as parallax maps, which add the distortion, which makes it feel like it's a little deeper. After we do all the fights, get it designed, and seeing what you really see and what you really don't, and then we might have to adjust stuff from there, you know?
Poseidon is doing well right now. We've been working on it for I don't know how many months, but where we are right now is every part of the boss fight and every part of the level has a first pass right now. It's in, it's functioning. I could hand you a controller and you can play through it. Tuning-wise, it might be too hard. The animations might be placeholder, but it's there. And we have people internally play testing it. So there's people who around here picked up the controller, played it, and been like, oh, wow, this sucks, or this is awesome. And then we keep tuning it and playing around with it to that.
We have meetings every week now, so we constantly see how much there is to do. And I mean, it's close as far as gameplay-wise. It's all there. But doing stuff on the Titans is proven to be very challenging. So things that would usually take 5 minutes take 2 hours. All things considered, all the crazy shit we're doing in there, we've had to make hardly any, if any, concessions, which is pretty amazing because the scope of this thing is just huge.
This is when we finally get the reveal of Poseidon in his big, giant, epic form. So you find out that these creatures you're fighting are just part of this one, basically the ocean pulled up to Mount Olympus. Oh, Poseidon's broken.
There you go. That's how you know it's in development.
In development. And the water's supposed to be moving here and all that.
He's got no arms.
He's got no arms. You know, we have to polish this. We have to make this robust and bug-free, which that's the really scary part. But it's getting there.
When we first saw Poseidon, we were visiting the studio in Santa Monica and working with Stig, and it just blew us away that the whole screen was filled with this boss. I don't think there's ever been a boss as big as this boss. We're actually right in the midst of scoring it with Mike Regan, and it's going to be huge. We're going to pull out all the stops, 20 brass players, 53 string players, massive amounts of percussion. So we're really going to try to create a kind of a cinematic unfolding experience for that whole first gigantic boss fight.
I hope that they're just blown away by just something they'd never seen before in a game, and to me, that's my ultimate goal when I'm making games, is like hopefully to make something that people haven't experienced, and that makes your game really stick out.
The moment that I really got to play through that Poseidon level at the beginning of the game, and you remember how excited I was, like really kind of like when we first got the assets together and like we could sit down and play the things. And you could see, like, with the polish and everything, how amazing it was going to be. And that's it for me right there.
You have disrespected the gods for the last time, Kratos.
あと、カメラワークだけ見たい。一旦離席。
camera design is the layout of cameras for the player's point of view in the game. So, and what we do is we basically control that player's point of view throughout the experience.
Cameras start with the design sheet being delivered to us by the level designer. That's the most basic form. We put in all the cameras for the design sheet. Once the cameras are in and it's been play tested and it proves this is a good concept and we go forward with it, it gets sent off to the art department.
That's where they'll take it and they'll spend, you know, months sometimes making these areas look really epic, and then they'll get finished with it and then they'll hand it back to us. And a lot of times it's a little bit different, so we'll have to adjust some cameras.
Once the art comes back in and someone's spent a year building that level, they can be very touchy if they spent a year styling in this formation and my camera just goes right past it. We try to do our best to show off everyone's hard work.
And a lot of times there's a lot of cool things that you want to see in there that you can't see, so we'll go back and try to include those pieces in the shot that you get when you're playing the game. And from there, we play test it. This time externally, we get some people from the outside come in, take a look at what we're doing, making sure that that's great. After we get their feedback, implement their feedback, we're ready to go to the next area.
Anything we can do to make the cameras feel cinematic.
And they serve as a guide for the player, too, to lead them in the direction that they need to go as well.
Yeah, whether they know it or not.
Yeah.
It's sort of like people who play the God of War franchise, after a while, they get a feel that if the camera's looking this way, that's important.
In the very end, it always comes back down to what would the player want to see.
Most games in the action genre, the player gets most of the control over the camera. The player has no control over the camera in the God of War series.
Fans have been clamoring, and I hear you. We need to look around. We want to look around.
It should be understood that there's really no way we could make the levels look this good if the player could look anywhere they wanted.
What we're trying to do, though, at this time around, is give
右
you
側の人めっちゃかっこいい。
points where you're in the adventure and you can control the camera. So maybe you're in a crazy puzzle room and you need to be able to kind of look around. So in some of these areas, we can give the player control, but in a limited fashion. I hope the fans will appreciate that we're trying to implement their feedback.
What new feature do you like the best from the camera system?
The rail-driven cameras. I think that's been my favorite new feature as far as the technology that we have with the camera.
What's a rail-driven camera for someone who wouldn't know?
A camera that's animated along a course that we have even more control over what the camera is showing.
The rail is essentially what we kind of live and die by. Let's say this is your camera rail, this line here, and let's say this is the thing that's driving the camera. And imagine this is a section of a hallway or something like that Kratos is moving along. We can take this camera here and we can key it. So we key to two different positions. So Kratos is here, the camera is here. When he starts to move along, as Kratos moves along, it will drive the animation of the camera to animate to that position. So as you're cruising along, you'll kind of see it, this kind of view where it's low and looking up at him, and then as he moves along, it will kind of track him and follow him. That's like one of our cool new things that we have that we think we can add a lot of kind of cinematic views to the game.
This is a perfect example of combat cameras right here. Here we're in a room, there's nobody to fight yet. And you can see we're taking a lower angle here. And as we come here, we'll trigger the spawning of a bunch of guys, and you can see the camera is going to lift up so we can show more of the action. And the framing, we're going to fit Kratos more towards the middle so you can see what's happening in front of him and see what's happening behind him. Try to give you the best view as possible for all the different combat actions that you're going to be taking.
So this is an untextured view of the Olympus base. This is what the artist put together first before he assigned any lighting or textures to it. Well, you can see these green boxes. These are the camera zones. They determine when Kratos is within one of those boxes, and once he is, the specific camera tied to that box gets activated. This is what a level would look like after we've added our cameras. You've got it panning around, following Kratos. If you were to take that off, it would basically look something like this. Very basic, not much excitement. You can't really tell where the player's supposed to be going. Adding the cameras is part of what definitely helps the level design flow. Here's a good example of some lead space. We're trying to tell the player this is where you want to go. Jump to this block over here. Once he's done the proper move, we zoom in, get him prepped for this nice shot of him making the leap. And then we transfer to another camera that shows him where you want to jump next, which is from here all the way down to there. So, and then he makes that jump. This would be an example of one of the vista shots we try to do in the game, which is you've got some really amazing piece of scenery in the background that the artists spend a lot of time building. So we want to get that into frame.
WARIII はカメラワークが素晴らしいですよね。一通りプレイしたので、もう WARIII はこれにて終了とします。また、WARIII や WARIII もプレイしてみたいっす。一旦は終わりです。ありがとうございました。